And here we are. I'm Terra Gold, integrative medicine practitioner, and I work with yoga therapy for 26 years now, and also work with traditional Chinese medicine, clinical nutrition, and also work with Western lab-based approaches to health and wellness. And it's my passion to blend East and West because I believe that the more we can keep blending the most ancient traditions and wisdoms with new understandings of how to work with medicine and healing, the better we can find a balance as we keep evolving and growing and opening to greater possibilities of health and wellness. So today I'm wanting to share with you some top tips for recalibrating the nervous system when it's a high stress time. And I wanted to do this because I have had quite a lot of clients come to me with extreme stress this year for obvious reasons. We're all dealing with a lot on this planet this year. And I've had my own bouts with it, of course. And there's some key things I learned along the way that have been the most helpful, especially when we need to find a way to quickly recalibrate our nervous systems. Because I don't know about all of you out there, but oftentimes I don't have time for a full hour and a half yoga practice, or I may not have time for a big jog or run or swim or hike. And we need to find ways to create a shift as quickly as we can, which is tricky when the nervous system is set into fight or flight mode. When we're in sympathetic nervous system mode, the body just knows that it needs to survive and it's in freak out. So I've also had quite a lot of opportunities now as a mom with my 8-year-old to really work with this and to discover that even though in yoga we're taught just breathe. I heard that so many times over the years, just breathe. Well, in those moments, sometimes it's really hard to just breathe. So we have to find ways to get into a mode where the body is going to support the deeper breath or support the calming for the nervous system. So it could go back into a more parasympathetic calibration. So one of the key principles or tools I've used, and it becomes a way that I often will open a practice when I'm doing longer practices, is to start with rocking. And this, I believe, just starts with even babies, right? So when we're in the womb, or even when we're just so young that we're being held and rocked, it's an innate softening for the nervous system. It triggers the response of, oh, I can rest now. So, so even just doing that, if you're at work, you're at your desk, or you're with me right now, and you're just taking a moment out of your day, take a moment to rock. And if you rock even subtly, even slowly, you're going to notice that your breath will change. The body softens, especially the connective tissue starts to soften. Nervous system response is, oh, I can take a deeper breath. So the deeper breathing naturally starts to occur instead of a forced deeper breath. It becomes a response to just a natural opening. So try that. That first step out of 5 steps that I'm going to give you today are starting with the rocking. So I don't know about you, but I'm already starting to breathe deeper. Okay, another tool that I want to give you is working with tapping. And tapping these days has become really popular. For anyone who's heard of EMDR, look it up if you haven't. It's one of the most researched somatic tools for recalibrating from PTSD. And one of the key principles is working with tapping on key places on the body. And many of these places are meridian points that have been used for, some of them, thousands of years for working medicinally, either through Chinese medicine, parts of Korea, Japan, India, and Ayurvedic marma point traditions. And this is a passion of mine. It's one of the things I've studied a lot and worked with a lot over the years. So tapping very key places is also a calming approach. There's a couple places I like to always check first for not just tapping, but just to check for tenderness to see if they'd be a good place to tap. And I'll show you where those are. So I'm going to stand up and I invite you to join me with this. So you'd want to start with going to where your belly button navel area is. Find it and then take your finger being your index finger, and whatever the width of that finger is, your going up just a little bit above that would be what we call Ren 9. It's a point on the meridian system, the Ren 9 meridian. And if you palpate and you notice some tenderness, then that's a sign of energies being a bit depressive, right? It's an area of the body where we want energies to rise naturally in the meridian system. But if there's a depressive tendency, it'll be particularly tender there. And I know for some people this might sound a bit esoteric, so just invite the possibility that in the Taoist traditions of meridian theory, there's an idea that we are energy bodies and not just physical structural bodies, and that from about this area that I'm describing down, we want to, from about the navel actually, energies naturally are going down. But from about the navel up, we want them to kind of rise toward the sky. So if that energy right above the navel is feeling tender, it means that energy is being depressive when it needs to be able to rise a bit more. Another point I want you to check is right at the center of the chest and calibrate back and forth, cross-fibering muscles and connective tissue there. And notice if there is tenderness. And that's a spot that I work with often with people and myself when there's more of an anxious tendency with the energy. So if you notice which one's more active, more tender, then that would be a great place to do your tapping. And you can even tap both. Sometimes I'll tap both if I notice both are tender, because it can be that you can be depressed and anxious at the same time. Now, I want to clarify, it doesn't mean you're necessarily clinically depressed and anxious all the time. It just means that there's a moment in time where there's depressive energies or anxious energies. So tapping, light tapping at a rhythm that feels natural and good for you is the key. If you tap too fast, it can be invigorating, and it might actually add to an anxious or uncomfortable sensation inside. If you tap too slow, it may not have much impact, may not feel like it's very supportive. But find a rhythm that feels like your rhythm, because that's also one of the key ways of working with stressful, high stress times, is to find your sense of natural rhythm again, right? Like you're the drummer. You're the one finding your rhythm. Okay, so once you've found your rhythm, your sense of how to calibrate with tap or with swaying, with rocking, then comes the breath work. And in yogic traditions, thousands of years old, there is a practice of alternate nostril breathing. And the idea is that we want to alternate the breath, but we're also alternating the awareness of flow, of breath flow again, and oxygen, but also of flow between the hemispheres of the brain. So it brings your attention, your focus back and forth, back and forth. And you can do this with eyes closed and have it be a profound effect. One way to start could be using your right thumb on the right nostril and inhaling through the left. Allow a little pause, close the left nostril, exhale out the right. Allow a little pause, inhale through the right. A slight pause, exhaling out the left. I'm going to have you keep this going on your end, and I'll talk to you while you try it. As you keep it going, again, notice your amount of speed. So going faster can have an invigorating quality. If you emphasize the length of the inhale longer than the exhale, it will have an invigorating quality. If you go slower, it'll have a calming quality. And if you emphasize extending the length of the exhale, it will also have a calming quality. So again, you can calibrate that anxious energy or depressive tendency of energy based on how you're regulating the length of the breath, the duration of the breath. I want to give you another way to work with this idea of recalibrating the hemispheres of the brain. So I mentioned that we can do that through the breath, but we can also do this through, I'm waving because I see friends waving. We can also do this through how we move in cross-body motions. So a really simple way is called cross crawl, and I like to teach it standing, but I often teach it lying on the ground too, especially if people have trouble with balance or they just want to feel like they can relax a little bit more with the floor supporting them. But standing and trying this is great too. As you inhale, you'd start with just raising one arm up. And as you exhale, you bring it down. And then you inhale the other arm up. And you exhale it down. For anyone who can't stand, if they need to stay seated because of work or because of something going on in their body that doesn't enable them to be standing, they could do this seated, just as I am. Now I'm going to add something to it. I'm going to add the eyes tracking the movement on the way up and the way down. And eyes tracking the movement, way up, way down. And if I were breathing instead of talking, I'd be inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. To add a little bit more to it, just to make your awareness even greater, somatically engaged, add the opposite leg to lift and exhale it down. So here we go. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Keeping it going. For anybody who's trying this, either lying down, seated, standing, keep it going. For now, especially through high stress times, don't even worry about going fast or slow. Just find your rhythm. Find what feels right. And we know the sense of what feels right because there's an innate quality of, that's just right. You just know. You can trust that. That's the key too of reducing stress, is trusting that you do know. You have that wisdom. I want to add one more fun way of working with high stress times, and it's to make sure we include our voices, and not just a speaking voice, but in a voice that breaks the parameters of culture a lot of times, because culturally so many of us are taught, stay quiet, sit still. I don't know if you got that messaging, but I think most of us have at some point in time. So it's important to also make sure you have times in your life where you let it go, you let it out. And one of the ways I do that in one of my most favorite ways is with vocalization, with vocal yoga scales. So you can do a rolling sound like you're scaling as a singer through a scale. And you do that with a movement pattern, or you do it even just seated, where you just roll and it goes, ooh, right? Like you're rolling. And this is a powerful way of regulating breath, not just sound, but frequency. And frequency is one of the most powerful ways we can move energy. We have frequencies, just like everything else in nature. There's frequency. So you work with the sound as a way to move frequency. And if you move with a deeper, richer tone, it tends to affect the lower body even more. It engages lower body. If you bring it up into the higher register, it engages more upper body. So it's nice to roll through a scale as a way to engage the whole body and get full body awareness again to reduce stress. So you can roll up scale to invigorate the energy. You can also roll down scale to bring the energy down if you're overly anxious. But I find that if I do this with my son sometimes when he's really flared up, it's a fun way to get it out of the stress mode. We're still working on that one. It's a work in progress. But I can tell you, for me, it works really well. For him, it works a lot of the time. All right, so here we go. We're going to try it together. Ooh. And then we're going to try it down. Ooh. And you might have heard a break in my voice. We all have a break somewhere in the voice, especially when you go through scales. If it happens, it happens. You just notice it, smile at it. Just like a tight muscle, right? We get into a movement pattern, stretching, working out. I see the person I work out with here right now. And we get into places where we go, ooh, right? Oh, that's tight. Or, ooh, that was hard. And bring the sound through that, just like you bring it through the break of your voice. And ooh, ooh, right? Roll. It's a way of singing and a way of, again, expressing full body to move the stress through. Make it fun. It doesn't always have to be so serious too. So those are at least 5 ways. I want to say it again. We have the rocking. We have the tapping. We have alternate nostril breathing. We have the cross crawl patterning. Make sure you're moving your eyes with it. And we have the vocal yoga scale. So there's just at least 5 tips. If you can remember those as go-tos, it's really helpful in the day. I can guarantee you will find times where this helps just shift the pattern of stress response quickly, easily, and truly. So I hope it helps. And if anyone wants to reach out, has questions, you can always reach out to me, Facebook or on Instagram, where you can also reach out to me at my website, terrawellness.com, Terra wellness.com. This is also stuff we cover in great depth with all kinds of layers to it that get intricate and fun in Yoga and Healing Sciences training programs that I lead every year. It's coming up this fall. It's going to start in August. And if you're interested, also check out my website under teacher training programs. All right, everybody, wishing you a wonderful day. Keep practicing. We're all practicing how to live with vibrance and freedom, even in those anxious moments. Enjoy. Have a great day. Bye.